Hello, everyone. Welcome to the next episode of the Generational Growth Podcast, where we teach people how to grow and give with abundance. We are at a time and point in history where people are going to have to start taking care of people. Cat is out of the bag. Corporations and governments are not going to save us. On top of that, financial education is not taught. Even at West Point, it's not taught. My goal is to teach employees and business owners how to increase their financial education so they could give back and get to their why in a more efficient manner. Generally speaking, everyone wants to help people, but we're not necessarily sure how. This podcast acts as an asset to teach you how to do that in the most efficient way possible. So I hope you enjoy this episode. In this episode, I talk with my land mentor, Michael Poggi. He really pinned down this turnkey lot strategy where he targets specific vacant lots and he buys those lots using a self-directed IRA to collect passive income, and you could sell on terms later. I personally implement the strategy. It is a great complement to what I do on the infinite banking side of things. So I really hope you enjoy this webinar and stay tuned for more content. All right, everyone, welcome to the next iteration of the Generational Growth webinar series. Today, we're going to be talking with one of my mentors, Mike, and he runs a cool little system where you could use a self-directed IRA to buy vacant land lots. And it's a very specific type of land lot that we're going to talk about today, but he has coined the system and this is what he does behind the scenes. I am a member of the system. I love the land. I love the land lots that I have right now. They are doing great. So Mike is really an expert in this niche, and he has built multiple businesses as well too, full-time investors. So Mike, tell us a little bit more about your business, and let's jump into this self-directed IRA strategy with vacant land lots.
Oh, thank you so much. Well, again, it's nice to meet everyone on the call today. And if you're a friend of Austin's, you're a friend of mine. So that's easy enough. And my name is Michael Poggi. If that doesn't ring a bell, that's Italian, right? And I grew up in Chicago, south of Chicago, in the suburbs with a great Italian family. So we ate pasta 5 days a week, like any other good family should, and enjoyed our lives and welcomed everyone into our family. Anybody, doesn't matter what height, color, whatever, we loved everybody. So it was great growing up in that atmosphere. But I had a chance as I became a young man to go work downtown Chicago as a stockbroker. And many of you know that stocks and mutual funds can be good or bad. And I think a lot of you have experienced both of those. Well, for me, it was an unusual experience because I started off as a stockbroker, and it was the best thing that ever happened to me because I got a chance to learn from my clients who were super wealthy. So I would find clients that had a 10 or $20 million net worth, and they would send me maybe $500,000 to trade their stocks. And I would do well for them. We traded the blue chip stocks like Microsoft and Intel and so on, and everybody made good money. But as you guys all know, that could always go the other way. And there's been times when investors, including myself, have lost a lot of money in the stock market when it's not going in the right direction, or even mutual funds for that matter, that didn't do well, or maybe only made 4% or broke even or lost. So I learned about the ups and downs and the risk of the stock market. I learned how to be an expert stockbroker. And as I became a much larger producer, I ended up having many, many wealthy clients come to me and say, Michael, I would like you to trade my account because my brother-in-law has done so well with you that I would like you to trade my account as well. So I never had to work for referrals anymore. And I ended up buying my own stock brokerage firm. So I became a Series 27 and Series 7. I'm sorry, Series 24 and Series 7. And owned a brokerage firm downtown Chicago. And that brought in even much larger clients that trusted me with their stock money. But I didn't know anything about real estate at the time. My mom and dad were not real estate gurus. They were business gurus, and they had stocks and mutual funds and annuities and gold and silver. So as time went on, I was able to learn from my wealthiest clients. So the guys and gals that had 10 million, 20 million net worth, I would ask them, I would say, hey, Mr. Investor friend, why is it that you would only send me $500,000 to trade when your net worth is, let's say, 10 million? What do you think their answer was? Anybody have an idea? If you want to either unmute and say it or pop it in the chat, I'll take either or. Richard, what do you say?
Diversify so they can diversify their portfolio.
They sure did, but they diversified so thick, meaning 9.5 million went into real estate deals and only $500,000 went into the stock market. So what I learned from that was that the stock market for wealthy investors is gambling where the real estate market for wealthy investors is truly better, safer, better returns, and you can use leverage. We all know that if you have $100,000 and you have a choice of putting it into mutual funds and stocks or real estate, what's the difference? Think about it. 100 grand in stocks or mutual funds is really dollar for dollar, isn't it? You put 100 grand in, the day you buy the stocks or mutual funds, you're minus the commission. Everyone agree? Yes, say yes, I agree. Brandon, are you with us? Can you put your camera on so we can see your handsome face? Unless you're in a G-string, we don't need you on then if you're in a G-string.
If you're
Brandon, are
in
you
that,
with
I
us?
would like you to turn the camera on. Oh,
There you
damn,
go.
he's not in one. Shoot.
Great. So what I'm saying is that, think about it. If you have 100 grand and you put it into stocks and mutual funds, basically you've got 100 grand worth of stocks and it could be down the first day because of the commissions, right? We all agree. If you take the same 100 grand and put it into a single family home or a duplex, now you've got 100 grand down payment on a $400,000 house. So you're controlling 400 grand in real estate with 100 grand down payment. That's leverage. And that's the golden goose to getting ahead. Even, Robert Kiyosaki talks about it all the time, using leverage, using other people's money, using the bank's money, using the seller's money. The point is that it's really difficult to become a multimillionaire if you're investing all your whole life only in dollar for dollar. And the passive income from stocks or mutual funds could be very weak, maybe 6%, maybe 8%, if you're lucky. And that's if it all works out and your stockbroker picked the right stuff for you. So as I got a chance to travel around Illinois with my wealthy investors, they took me to all of their projects. So I saw land development projects. I saw apartment building fix and flips. I saw new construction apartment buildings, new construction houses, big wealthy homes, and vacant land banking, vacant land holding for long term, and vacant land selling on terms where you can collect passive income from a buyer with no tenants, no toilets, no upkeep, no nothing. So I was pretty amazed. I'm like, wow. So this is why you only give me 500 grand and your net worth is 10 million. And they would chuckle and laugh and say, yes, Michael, this money we gave you is our gambling money. If you lose it all, it's no problem. And we hope that you don't, but we would never grow our net worth from the stock market. Well, most of the people you guys know, meaning most of my friends and cousins and relatives, they all have stocks and mutual funds at Schwab and Fidelity. Everyone agree? You guys the same way, right? So most of the people you know, whether it's your neighbor on either side or your best friend or your banker, your stockbroker, or whoever, they all have stocks and mutual funds. Hardly any of them have real estate. And some of the reasons why you guys know very well. They don't teach you this in school, right? So you don't hear from your teacher about how to flip houses or do construction. You're not going to learn that in school, but everyone talks about open up an IRA, open up a 401k plan when you get a job, and keep parking money into those entities in stocks and mutual funds. And someday you're going to be a multimillionaire. Well, that's a big joke because a lot of people at 60 years old, 70 years old, 80 years old still haven't made enough money. Does everyone agree? Say, yes, I get it. Yep, you're all with me? Great. So we all agree that everyone follows the masses. The masses invest in stocks and mutual funds. I mean, literally thousands of people a day are brainwashed from their stockbroker or their parents or their accountant to, diversify their portfolio in stocks and mutual funds. And what I learned very quickly was that good returns in the stock market can vanish quite quickly. So look at the downside risk on 100 grand in stocks or 100 grand in mutual funds. Does anyone agree on this call, raise your hand, that stocks and mutual funds could drop in half? Yes or no? Yep. Okay,
Yes.
now, at the same time, what's the upside? 8%, 10%, maybe even 12 if you're lucky, but that's still a gamble because the downside is huge. The upside is mediocre at best. What would happen to the stock market today if your friend Trump got shot? Right now, Trump got assassinated. What would happen with the stock market?
Probably plummet.
Oh, big time. What happens if China sent a nuke over this way? We'd have bigger problems than just the stock market, wouldn't we? But you get the idea. What happens if something went wrong where, our water supply was cut off by Iran? Or what would happen if our electricity was cut off or our internet was cut off by, Russia shooting down our satellite or China pushing our satellite out of the range? There's so much danger right now in our life that the stock market is so risky. Let me give you a comparison. If all of us on this call today got on a plane right now and went to Las Vegas, we could go to sit down at a blackjack table, right? And start placing bets on blackjack with 100 grand. Now, there's several things that could happen. We can double our money, make 200 grand. We could break even and walk out of there with some great alcoholic beverages and some great tits in our face. Or we could lose a lot of money. Everyone agrees? Say, yes, I get that risk. Okay. But that's the same risk as the stock market and mutual funds, but it takes 20 years to find out which one is it. So why would you invest in stocks and mutual funds to find out that 20 years later, your mutual funds are only up 4% a year or break even, or they went down because of terrible economy? When you're ready to retire and you go to sell your stocks and mutual funds, what happens? You sell them pretty much around that time when you're ready to pull the plug and retire, and they may not be up at that time. Maybe it's 3 years later when you don't want to wait 3 more years to retire. So the idea is to take control of your money. So most people never heard of a self-directed IRA. A self-directed IRA is where it's not at Schwab or Fidelity. It's not at a bank. It's at a custodian that allows you to invest in many things besides just stocks and mutual funds. For example, with a self-directed IRA, we call that a real estate IRA because you can buy a duplex, you can buy an apartment building, you can buy a self-storage facility. What else? A senior living facility, car wash, lend money, buy land, develop land, sell land on terms. There's so many options with a self-directed IRA. But 99% out of 100 of people that you and I all know don't have a self-directed IRA. They've got an IRA over at Schwab or Fidelity or Bank of America, and they were taught and brainwashed that that's the way to go. Unfortunately, that's not the way to go. And to become super wealthy, where you can literally live off of the passive income for the rest of your life, you can't get there from stocks and mutual funds alone. A small portion of your portfolio should be allocated to that, but maybe 5% at the most. So if you have 100 grand net worth, 5 grand go into stocks and mutual funds, and the other 95,000 goes into real estate so that you can actually get some results with less risk. I would rather you own an asset like land or a house or a rental property, something like that, than own stocks and mutual funds, which are super volatile. So we don't want to be in the Las Vegas area. And there's a lot of people that I've met since I'm basically like a real estate investment financial planner. I've met thousands of people that are older than all of us on this call, and they can't retire. So how would you feel if you wanted to travel the world or give to charities or just spend time with your kids or grandkids, and you could not because you could not afford to quit? Who in this call would say that's not a good thing, is to be stuck still working? Who would agree with me? Raise your hand.
Yeah, that sucks.
It sucks. And it happens a lot. I mean, I've got clients that come to me that are 70 years old, and they say, Michael, I want to retire, but I only have 500 grand net worth. You cannot retire on 500 grand. You'd have to go to Thailand, or maybe Philippines to be able to afford it. Otherwise, you're stuck in the United States with rip-off prices, high inflation, and you cannot live off of $3,000 a month in the United States. I mean, think about it. Do you need $6,000 a month to live off of? $12,000 a month? $20,000 a month? What's your number? So I'm going to ask each and every one of you, if you could quit your job today or quit your career today, how much a month could you live off of for the rest of your life without touching the principal? So give me a number. Let's start with Manny. Manny, how much? You can unmute. Go ahead and unmute everybody and tell me what number per month could you literally stop working for life?
Well, that's currently the current situation.
Yep.
Oh, I'll just say it's like probably 10 or 12.
Okay. Thank you so much. What about you, Baggio?
I was thinking similar situation. I mean, it's hard to tell with, like you just said, all those factors where stuff's not getting cheaper, right? So,
Yeah.
I would say probably the same thing right now, but if you ask me in 25 years, it'd probably be like 16 or 18.
Thank you. I was going to get to that, but you were beat me to it. Thank you. You're right on track. So $10,000 a month today is not the same as $10,000 a month 20 years from now or 25 years from now. Don't you agree?
Yep.
So you
like
can't
money.
plan for today. You got to plan so that 20 years from now or 10 years from now, when you are done, that you really have a substantial amount of money coming in. So let's check with Austin. Austin, how about you? If today was the day that you could quit and never work again, how much dollar amount per month passive income would you need to never look back?
I'm gonna go a little bit lower. I go pretty baseline. I did that math. I just need about $3,500 a month, but that's not comfort. That's just like baseline. For me
Well,
to be comfortable, it'd be around like 8 to 9.
and then let's take into consideration. I thought the same thing, but I'm like, but I got kids and a wife, and
Yeah.
Well, I
so
was
I'm
going to
like,
ask,
how
going to ask
much do I need
Austin.
to raise the kids
Yeah, no,
comfortably?
you're right. Austin, I can't remember. Are you married already or still got the girlfriend?
It's still probably going to engage here at the end of next year.
That's what I thought you said. Okay, so based on that, let's suppose now it's Austin plus his sweetheart plus three freaking monsters climbing all over him.
Because yeah, because what are those studies on how much it costs to raise these damn kids? I don't even know what it is.
It's
Yeah,
like not
ask
too
Eric.
long ago. Not too
Ask
long ago,
Eric.
it's a quarter million per kid, just baseline. Like for a million. Like when my older brother has four kids.
Yeah.
Yeah,
My two middle siblings have one kid apiece. I was like, my brother, like whenever he got his fourth kid, I was like, bro, he just took out like $1 million loan. And mind you, that number was like still back from like 2018, 2019. So
jeez.
let's just like whatever the percentage of like, what's inflation, let's even put it at 10%. You're like now probably like 275, probably 300,000 per. So now,
Wow.
yeah, so like you're at 1.2 for just like just to get them to 18. That's not
Yeah.
extracurriculars. That's not like whatever. So like put like an additional maybe 15-20% on that.
Well, it's interesting too. Eric can give us a number too. Eric's got a whole house full of kids. Usually, he's got three kids, and he's been taking care of them since they were born. And Eric would be traveling around the world himself right now too if he didn't have to have all the stuff that he had to pay for over the years. So he was a rich guy, but he had kids. So now that's what happens. Eric, what's your number per month, buddy? What's your number per month?
I would actually be a little bit higher. I would say probably between 15 and 20.
All right, all right. Let's try Richard. What do you say, brother? What's your number for you?
Uh, my rat race number is 12.5.
Okay. All right. Super. And Brandon, what about you, sir? You got to unmute. Go ahead.
If I was going off of the live low and just survive, I could probably do it on 4.
Uh-huh.
But going off of all the stuff that you're throwing in there,
Yeah.
going crap's gonna happen, it'd
Yeah.
probably be 10 to 12.
Yeah. And see, think about it. When you try to make 10,000 a month or 5,000 a month, you can't do it in gambling, meaning you can't do it in a risky investment because you could lose it all and have to start over again. So it's got to be like a safe investment. I'm not talking about a CD necessarily, but you may have to lend money out at, 8 or 10% return at a very low risk lending rate so that you're not getting in a bad situation, something like that. But lending is one of the ways that wealthy real estate investors stay away from all the aggravation of fixing, flipping, tenants. They just lend out money to other people that use it for real estate and can cover their ass. So that's another way to protect yourself. Did I miss anybody on the call? I think I got everybody. Is that right, Austin? Did I miss anybody?
We're good to go.
Okay, super. So I want to give you guys a perspective on what I learned as a stockbroker when I was a young man. So I sold my stock brokerage firm a long time ago, 30 some years ago, and I moved to South Florida. I live now near Fort Lauderdale, and I've got a wife and two kids that are also eating me up alive. I should just give them a debit card. Why not just give the kids a debit card and let them go and let them run? Obviously, that's not what we want to do, but everything's expensive these days. And so what I learned from my clients was that you've got to diversify into real estate, and it doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be where you've got renters complaining and kitchen sinks leaking. So what I did was I sold my brokerage firm in Chicago, and I moved to Florida, and I kept my wealthiest clients to trade for them, but also to help them to invest in real estate deals that I found. So what I did was I would find a real estate deal, and if I could prove to the investor that it was a good deal, they would put up all the money. So that's how I got started with no money of my own other than what I put my money into. I put my money into $1.5 million home in Florida because Florida has asset protection on your homesteaded home. And I put other money into other businesses. So I had to find more private money. And so therefore, I would call my investors and say, hey, listen, since you're doing mostly real estate, I found an apartment building or a fix and flip or a new construction project. Would you put up the money and I'll do all the work? And they would agree. So that's how I was able to get started with none of my own money. But as I started to make money from building houses and flipping houses with other people's money, I made profits. What did I do with those profits? I parked them into quarter-acre buildable lots. And I did my first transactions many, many years ago, like 30 years ago, were vacant lots in Florida. And I always thought, well, why not invest where I live? Because I lived in Florida, I want to invest in Florida. What I found out was that Florida is not the best place to buy land because the taxes were very high compared to any place else in the country, and the cost of living was high, and the POA fees, meaning the maintenance to maintain a lot. You've got maintenance fees to keep the roads clean and the sewer and water, and then you've got mowing expense to mow the lawn. So that was my first experiences with vacant lots. That was in Florida. So, Fort Myers, Cape Coral, Lehigh Acres, etc. And I did make money. So I'm not saying I didn't make money, but I found a better way. My first really good experience in vacant land was in a resort community in Texas. And I went into this resort community and I did not buy any lots on the lake. I didn't buy any lots on the golf course because they were 50,000 or 100,000. I bought cheap lots for around 9 grand or 10 grand or 11 grand in a subdivision that had lakes and golf courses and amenities and trees. So there was no grass to cut, and also low taxes, like $50 a year, and low maintaining costs. So no grass cutting, which was $70 every 2 weeks in Florida. So I skipped all that, right? So that gave me the ability to hold vacant lots long term instead of holding a rental property. So one of the things that I learned was that since I didn't have enough money to buy many, many, many vacant lots at that stage when I first started, I had to borrow money from the sellers of the land. In other words, I had to ask a seller to carry me for 5 years. So I would say, Mr. Seller, I want to buy your lot for 9 grand, but I only have $500 down payment, and the rest I'll give you over the next 5 years. And they would say, well, why would I do that? If you don't pay me, I'm screwed. So gentlemen on this call, please unmute and tell me why the gentleman that said that if I don't pay him, he's screwed was wrong. Eric, you know the answer, and so does Austin. So besides Eric and Austin, gentlemen on this call, Brandon, Richard, Baggio, why is it that if I buy a piece of land from a seller and I start making payments to him of $500 a month and I default, what happens?
Nothing. They get their equity. They still have their equity. It just reverts back, and like it's going to appreciate in value regardless.
So the seller did not give me the deed. The seller doesn't give me the deed until I make my last payment. So I don't really own the land. I'm making payments on the land, but I don't own the land. It's very similar to an automobile loan. Every one of us on this call has probably gotten an automobile loan where you put 10 grand down or 20 grand down on a car, whatever, and you make payments to the bank. So whose car is it when you're making payments to the bank? Is it your car or the bank's car?
Thanks.
The bank's car.
Bank.
What happens if you don't pay?
It goes back to him.
Reverse us and sell it.
They come and pick it up, and you lose all the payments you made and the down payment. The same thing applies to raw land. So when I would call a seller, I would say, Mr. Seller, I want to buy your land for 9 grand, but I only have $500. And he would say, well, that sounds risky to me. And I would say, no, because you have the deed, Mr. Seller. And if I don't pay you, you keep the payments and my down payment. He said, are you sure? I said, absolutely. So he would call his attorney, call his accountant. And the accountant said, that's a great idea because you can defer your capital gains taxes, because some of those people got the lot for 2 grand when the subdivision first opened, or maybe they got it from a family member, grandmother died and they inherited a lot. So they don't want to take capital gains all up in 1 year. So they were able to take their capital gains over a period of time, 5 years. Second thing is that if I defaulted, the attorney told the seller that they have no risk. They're holding the deed. And if I don't pay them, I lose. So I was able to get some sellers, not all, but some sellers to agree to take my money over time because they didn't need all the money right now. That got me to build a giant portfolio of vacant lots around 10 grand. So I ended up buying several hundred vacant lots in that price range. And I used my self self-directed Roth IRA. That means that I was using a tax-free retirement plan that allowed me to buy the lots at 9 or 10 and sell them later and not pay 1 penny of taxes. And I sold those lots on terms. So let me give you an example. If I bought a lot at 9 and I sold it at 18 or 19 or 20, would you agree that in 5 years, if I sold it at double, that I averaged approximately 20% a year? Everyone agree with me? Raise your hand if you get it. So 20 grand a year, 20% a year for 5 years is 100% return. And that's what it took to double my money. So in 5 years, I doubled my money on a piece of land that had no tenants, no toilets, no nothing to fix, no phone calls, no nothing to do, and not even grass to cut because there was trees on it. So I bought several hundred lots at that price range, and I ended up holding on to them for those 5 years, and then I put them for sale, but I used a secret weapon. This is my $1 million secret for everyone on this call. You want to write this down. I didn't say lot for sale, financing available, 20% down, must have good credit. That's what you all know and you all see every day. My ad was different. My ad said, of course, quarter acre buildable lot in fast growing resort community with lakes, golf courses, and amenities. Then it said 0 down, 100% financing, no credit check, everyone approved. Pow, 0 down, 100% financing, no credit check, everyone approved. That got me 80 phone calls in 3 weeks from people that said, I've got 0 down and I've got bad credit. I want to buy your lot, right? So the only thing that I really cared about was, could they afford to make the payment? So if the payment was $250 a month or $300 a month, and I saw that they had a job, they weren't sitting at home, and they showed me that they had, 3 months of bank statements or something like that, I would take them as a buyer. So they would start making payments of, let's say, $300 a month on average, times hundreds of vacant lots, right? That's like $80,000 a month coming in passive into a Roth IRA. Now, did I have to pay any taxes on the profit of that lot? Yes or no?
No.
What about the interest income? So I was charging 10% interest. So not only did I make 20% a year on the profit, after that, I made another 10% interest for another 7 or 8 years longer. So I got paid twice on the same piece of real estate. So tell me, did I pay taxes on the interest? Yes or no?
No, it went all into your IRA.
Correct. All of it went in the IRA tax-free. So that means I got to keep every single penny that I earned, and none of it went to the government. So when you're doing that and you're bringing in 80,000 a month, how many more vacant lots can you buy at 10 grand if you've got 80 grand a month coming in?
Probably a lot.
How many? 8? Everyone agree? So yes, 8 is the number. Raise your hand for yes, 8 it is. Okay. So 8 lots a month times 12 months. How many lots is that a year?
8 times 12, 96.
So it's almost 100 more lots a year that I was able to add to my portfolio just from the interest income. Does everyone get it?
Mhm.
So what happens when you get to 500 lots or 1,000 lots?
Just
If you go-
compounds on each other. Just keeps going.
You got it. So that's my story, and that's over 30 years. So it didn't happen overnight. But then I learned a few more new tricks. So I learned that besides the seller as my lender, I could borrow money into my self-directed Roth IRA from a family member or a friend or an investor. So I could call up Austin and say, Austin, can I borrow 40 grand? I'll give you 20% return on your money for a year. He'd say, hell yeah, no problem. As long as you personally guarantee it, I'm in. So what I did was I called my brother and I said, hey, listen, I'd like to borrow 20 grand from you and I'll give you 10% return. He said, that's fine. I'd rather get that than the stock market. So I borrowed 20 grand. With 20 grand, how many vacant lots could I control if I put $500 down payment? So let's say I borrow 20 grand into my Roth IRA from my brother, which is legal. And now I call up sellers and I say, seller, I want to buy your lot. I want to put $500 down payment. How many lots can I control if I had 20 grand and I put down only $500 down per lot?
40.
40. Everyone with me? Raise your hand if you got 40.
Yep.
Yeah.
Got 40.
Okay, so we all got 40. So 40 lots. Now, if they're worth 10 grand a piece, how much money is that?
40K.
No, that's 4 million.
400.
No. 40 lots that are worth 10 grand a piece is how much? 400,000.
400K.
400,000 money, yeah.
So that means I was controlling $400,000 with just 20 grand of my brother's money. Everyone get that?
Mhm.
What happens when those lots doubled to $20,000? Now the lots doubled. I had 40 of them. What's 40 lots times worth 20 grand a piece?
800.
800.
$800,000 that I created in equity from using 20 grand of somebody else's. Did I have to make the payments on 40 lots? I sure did. That's not
I
easy.
got a question. I got a quick question. The IRA, so you said your brother loaned you the money, you paid him 20% out of your IRA. Is that right?
I paid him 10% on his money. Yes, sir.
10%. Now the money that he loaned you, that's not in your IRA, so you use that to purchase the properties
No,
outside of an IRA.
he loaned it to my IRA.
Oh, okay. But all this is trapped until you reach a certain age, then you can start using it, right?
59 and a half.
Yep. All right.
Yep, 59 and a half. So therefore, I just turned 60 now. So
you're free.
What's that?
Now you're free. You can cash out.
Exactly. So now I'm in a stage where I'm just, building for my legacy for my two children. So I don't need to cash it out. I mean, if I was retiring 10 years ago, yeah, I would have needed it, but I don't right now. So now everything that I have built with vacant land and passive income goes to my children. Everyone get it?
Yep.
All right. So by using the seller as a lender, and then those 40 lots, when I sold them at 20 grand each, I did them on terms. So 40 lots bringing in, let's say, $800 a month, because now they were more expensive. 40 lots bringing in $800 a month is how much a month?
What, 36,000?
40 lots bringing in $800 a month.
32K.
$32,000 a month in passive income that was brought in at 10% interest. Everyone got it? Okay. So that's the way to avoid fix and flipping, tenants, problems with roofs, foundations, air conditioners, and all the other shit that goes wrong. So I did do a lot of fix and flips, but I took that money from fix and flips and got it out of fix and flips and put it into raw land in order to be able to be safer. So vacant land at 10 grand probably will never go down in value at all. In other words, you can buy it, hold it, and if it never goes up, that's possible. We don't know, but it's not likely to ever go down. I've never lost one penny on a piece of land that I owned in my portfolio. They never have gone down.
Good question. Like, on the people that are making the payments, the ones that you sold them to, like I guess your buyers. So what was there an average? Like, what would happen? Like, of course you're keeping the payments from the default, but like was there an average number? Like, you have some of them that did default. I'm like, what happened?
Very small, less than 1%, because it's not the same as someone renting your house who loses their job and now they say, sorry, I'm not going to pay you, and then you have to foreclose to get them out, and they stay there for 6 months to a year. It's not the same as a bigger piece of property. When you're talking about a little piece of land like that, and the payment's $300 or $200, the default rate is very low. Why? Because they know that if they don't make that next month payment, they're going to get a letter from my attorney that says, hey, you have defaulted, and if you don't cure in 30 days, you lose this land. So they don't have any rights to the land. They don't have any recourse. They lose the money that they paid payments on, and they lose the land. So that causes the default rate to go way down because it's not a foreclosure. You're not giving them a mortgage. So in other words, you're just renting the land from you basically until they paid you.
It's at least own basically without the actual security of like a loan from like a bank or institution like that.
I'm sorry, say again?
It's like basically it's lease to own, but like you're not like a traditional institution.
Correct.
Yeah.
You're an individual person who's going to hold a note and they're going to make monthly payments. And guess what? It comes in by automatic payment on ACH draft. So it's not like you're waiting for a check in the mail. Because if you had 100 people paying you $300 a month, you don't want them to see, okay, where's this check? Where's that check? You want them to all come in on the first of the month where you see that 50 people paid you on time or 100 people paid you on time. And if there's one missing, you can call and identify it immediately and say, hey, what happened? Did you change bank accounts? Did you lose your job? Are you okay? Are you in the hospital? What's wrong?
Is there a reason why you did all this through an IRA instead of just a regular account?
Great question, my friend. I appreciate you, Richard. So I actually did both. I did quite a bit in my LLC where I would buy the lot and sell it. Then I'd have profit. I can go on vacation. I can use it to buy a new car.
That's
or
awesome.
just go back and turn it into another piece of land if I wanted. But here's the bad part, that if you were to compare equal transactions from your IRA to your LLC and did the same exact transactions, the IRA would excel 10 times greater and faster because of tax-free profits. So if you bought a lot at 10 and sold it at 20 in your LLC, how much is left over after you paid the taxes?
Depends on what bracket you're in, I guess. I mean,
give me a guess.
So you have no strategies to avoid taxes.
You're making
the amount of money you're making, probably losing a lot.
You are. So let's call it that you have, let's say 17,000 left over, which is probably worse than that, but let's call it 17,000. Every time you sell a lot of 20, you give up 3 grand. Where in the IRA, that 3 grand stays in your account. If you did that 1,000 times, the difference is literally millions and millions and millions of dollars difference from doing it tax-free. So the idea is to do it tax-free and protect yourself from using the money too soon. Because I know that, Richard, if you had it in your LLC, you're going to go on vacation like I would. So if you had it in your IRA and you couldn't get to it, it's actually forcing you to keep it there. And it kind of forces you to not take it. But I did both, Richard. I did have quite a bit in my LLC. And when my accountant looked at it, he goes, Michael, do you realize that you did almost the same amount of transactions in this account, your IRA, compared to this account, your LLC, and your IRA did 10 times more profit because you got to keep every profit and every interest income with no taxes to pay. It was sickening, the difference. So if I could do it over again, I would do them all in the IRA if I could.
Isn't there a cap though on contributions to your IRA annually? I believe it's like 6,500.
Yeah, there's a contribution of per year of 8,000 a year right now. It used to be 7,500, the year before 6,500. But receiving a profit is not towards a contribution, and receiving 30,000 a month or 50,000 a month from passive income is not a contribution. You could have $1 million a month coming into anybody's IRA today, right now. 2 million, 10 million, doesn't matter. But you can only contribute 8,000 of your own money after your paycheck. So let's suppose you get a paycheck from wherever you work or whatever. It gets taxed from the job, comes back in, it comes into your bank account. You're allowed to deposit 8 grand a year into your IRA every year. So it's 8 grand a year times 5 years is 40 grand in 5 years. That is the limit that you can deposit. But if you bought a house for 100 grand in your IRA and you sold it for 300 grand and you netted 200 grand, there's no taxes on that.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know. Is it like when you, I guess when you go to fund it or something, you're putting in a different, like, it's not an account, it's an IRA account, so it kind of gets processed as such. It's all in one pathway, so to speak.
Well, it's in an IRA, which is called an individual retirement account, which means that you and only you could be on that account. It's not for you and a spouse or you and a friend or a child. So it's only you. You're allowed to contribute up to 8 grand a year. And everything that you buy in the IRA has to be titled by the IRA. So the IRA owns that land and you are the beneficiary. So when you sell that and you want to take money out later, you can because you're the beneficiary. So every bit of income that comes in from selling those lots on terms, 10,000 a month, 20,000 a month, 30,000 a month, goes back into that IRA tax-free. And that does not affect your limit of 8,000 per year. So you can still deposit 8 grand a year no matter how much money you make.
I know that.
And it's the IRA and our LLCs. Are they just like they're separate structures, like or
Yeah,
separate entities?
yeah,
They're
they're
not
just
like
different
they're
structures.
not
So
underneath like
one structure is a retirement account. The other one is your limited liability
I mean
corporation.
like they're not an umbrella of like a trust or anything else like that.
You can. I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of people
I'm
have their
just,
IRA in the trust and their
yeah.
LLC in the trust. So a trust is just a bigger protection umbrella that protects you from getting sued by someone and allows you to keep that trust going after you die to hopefully avoid paying taxes on stuff that you own when you pass away. So your kids don't have to worry about that. So a
Yeah,
good attorney would draw up a trust for you.
Does that
I'm
make
gonna
sense?
take a shot. I'm gonna take a shot in the dark here. So I know, like with an investment account with Charles Schwab, if you reach 100K, you can pull out like a P-lock against your securities. Is there something like that you can do with this IRA as well? You can almost like leverage it in a way to have a line of credit.
Well, a couple things. One is that you should never take a loan from your brokerage account. The reason why is that it's very easy to get a margin call and all of a sudden be in big trouble. I did it and I almost got my ass kicked bad. So I would never borrow from a stock account. Stock account means that if the stocks drop 30% or 40%, you'll get a margin call and they'll say,
Yeah.
hey, you owe
I've
me.
been margin called a few times.
Yeah. So that's completely gambling. That's worse than going to Las Vegas. That's not the way to go. You never want to borrow money from a stock account. You could borrow money from a savings account or borrow money from your home, like a line of credit, a HELOC. You're better off borrowing from your existing home in a HELOC where your home's not going to likely drop in value very much and you're not going to get a margin call. A HELOC is,
IBC.
what's that?
Or that.
I threw in the whole life fees to use that line
Yeah,
of credit.
or you borrow from your life insurance like I do. Yeah, good questions, by the way, Richard. So you're trying to figure out how to use the money now. I get it. Okay, so let me tell you a couple things. One is that you do not want to borrow from your IRA. You do not want to touch your retirement. You do not want to touch anything that's building until it gets to the spot you're at. If you're trying to build a $6 million so you can retire and never work again and live off of the number you picked, you do not want to pull out 20 grand out of an IRA because that's the equivalent of pulling out $200,000 out of your IRA later. So if you pull out 20 grand now, and then 10 years later or 15 years later, that's the same as pulling out 200 grand. So the idea is to not touch the IRA ever until you turn 59 and a half, and then you're legally able to take it out. Now, if you have an emergency where you got to get a kidney and you want to take out the IRA, they have a provision for emergencies only where you can take it out without penalty and so on, but you'll still have to pay the capital gains taxes, which could be a big hit after all these years of you doing it tax-free. Make sense?
Yeah. The thing is like I just don't see how this could get myself closer to the rat race number time now. This is more of a long-term investment plan when I'm an old man, you know. So
How old are you now?
41.
So you're 41. And may I ask, please, what is your net worth? If you want to tell me, you can. You don't have to, but what is your net worth now?
If you include like every little thing, probably like 850.
Okay. So, and what is your goal per month? You said, I forgot what your dollar amount per month you want to live off of. You're frozen, Richard, I think. We may have lost him.
It was 12.5.
Okay. So there he is, Richard. Richard, you there?
Japan got nuked.
He may have a bad internet connection, but so in order to live off of 12,000 a month, how many millions do you need to have? 1 million brings in about 2 or 3,000 a month only, passive income without putting it at risk. So $1 million is, let's call it 3,000 a month. 2 million is 6,000 a month, right? So 4 million would be the minimum that Richard would have to make and keep without, losing it. Does that make sense? To be able to live off of his number, $4 million. Well, if he's investing in an LLC, he'll never get there unless he's, hits the lottery. He buys Bitcoin and it quadruples and blah, blah, blah. But at the same time that he's trying to figure out how to use his money now, and that comes from what you make at a job and have a little savings and so on. But if you touch your retirement money now, you'll never get to the bigger numbers. You must protect it, and you must not pull from an IRA until later on when you're ready to call it quits. Does everyone get that? Yes? All right. So One of the things that I'm able to help anyone with is to have a private consultation with you one-on-one to talk about your specific needs. In other words, do you want to talk about what you currently have, what your goals are, and where you're headed? I have that as an available slot on my calendar to work with us. And the only thing I would ask is that we find out more about you first, which is my partner Eric is on the call. He would be the one that would help me to understand your current situation. So we want to know more about you. Where are you at now? What do you invest in now? How's it going? Have you had success or failure in real estate, and what? And what kind of things you're looking at? Now, although we do a lot of vacant lots, we're experts at many other strategies in real estate, including lending and also self-storage facilities and senior living facilities and new construction. So although I'm just trying to show you about how I got started with vacant lots and flipping and building, there's so many other things out there, but vacant lots is one of the easiest and lowest risk. So if you would like to do a private call with me and learn more about how to become super wealthy tax-free, I'll spend some time with you. I just want you to text me on my cell phone your name and the word vacant lots. And then what I'll do is I'll have Eric get a hold of you to set a time where we can spend a little more time with you. And then you and I will do a 1 hour call for free. Nothing's for sale. It's just simply a discussion on what do you need help with. And once I learn more about what you need help with, I'll figure out how to quarterback this for you to see what you need help with. You may not want vacant lots. That's fine. You may not want to do lending. That's fine. Whatever it is that fits you the best, we'll try to tailor something that you can work with. Is that fair enough? Yes? Raise your hand if you got that. We're still missing somebody, right? We're still missing Richard.
Yeah, I'll make sure Richard gets over there. Hey, Anthony came in. He's another one of my friends. He came in and came out. He wanted me to make sure I asked this question. In regards to location, where specifically are you buying these lots and what is driving you there?
Yeah, we'll talk about that privately later, but right
Okay.
now we focus on resort communities that are in fast-growing areas, meaning there's construction going on, and they're always under 20 grand. They have low taxes, low carrying costs, paved roads, utilities, lakes and golf courses, pickleball, tennis courts, everything. And the reason why we do that is because we want to stay focused on areas that when it's time to sell them later, somebody would want them other than just a mom and pop who want to build a house. So if I want to sell a piece of land in a resort community with lakes and golf courses, which one sells better? A resort property like that or a piece of land in a subdivision with, houses in there with nothing else going on, meaning a boring subdivision with nothing else to do but build your house? Which one is a bigger seller's market? Everyone get that?
Mhm.
So resort properties is where I've made my millions, and I focused on Texas, Arkansas, and other areas that have made me most of my money. And that's where I stick to. I stick to certain subdivisions that have a great upside. They don't go up overnight. I've had lots for sometimes for 4 or 5 years that didn't budge. And then all of a sudden they went up 40% the next year and 20% the next year and 15% the next year and 30% the next year. So they don't always go up overnight, but neither do mutual funds and neither do stocks. And the difference is that my lots that I own or that you will own probably will never decrease in value, but your mutual funds might or your stocks might. So if you can do things tax-free in a Roth IRA, that will be your secret weapon to get to retirement faster. If you do them in an LLC because you want to keep using the money for new cars, vacations, shame on you because you will waste money on shit that doesn't matter. And then when it's time to finally retire, you won't have enough. So I encourage you to be very diligent and not spend money on shit you don't need and keep it in the IRA and add to the IRA every chance you get. Because if you're spending money on vacations and you don't deserve to go on one yet, then that's not good. Go on one that's cheaper instead of spending money, going to Italy or something like that when you could, do something cheaper, save the money and build your IRA up to be massive and then enjoy the rest of your life, whether it's from 50 to 90 or 60 to 90 or 70 to 90, whatever that may be. Everyone get it?
Yeah,
All
quick
right.
question.
I'm going to open up for questions. Go right ahead. Manny, you're up.
Oh no, you said that because so part of my background is I did project management for like high-end hotels, resorts. I've done background in like construction development stuff like that. So I was just was curious as part of your You said like the territories that you go after. Like, do you have anything particular in like the North Texas area? 'Cause I know from like the North Texas and the Triangle Corridor that we have here, and like I guess you could say from Dallas, San Antonio, Houston. That's just usually kind of like that's usually target. Like I looked at like vacant lots and stuff like the
Mhm.
for like as far as like just doing like taxing kind of like investments and stuff like that. I haven't executed on any sort of like that type of strategy or anything else like that. But I was just curious around and say, do you have property in like North Texas? Like,
We,
cause
we
that
don't.
makes
We don't for a
yeah,
very good reason. If they don't
yeah,
fit all of our criteria, then we don't go into it. So I'll give you an example. If the
sure,
subdivision you're talking about doesn't have lakes where you can get on a boat and speed, that's the wrong
right,
subdivision. If it doesn't have, one golf course or more, that's the wrong subdivision. If it isn't on paved roads yet, because it's still newer, it's got dirt roads, that's still not good. If the taxes are too high, meaning above like $80 a year, that's no good. If the cost of living
okay.
is too high, which it might be in Texas, that's no good. So I
Mm.
can give you 10 reasons why I wouldn't go into just those type of areas
Well,
unless you're going to buy the lot to build a
sorry.
house tomorrow. So if you're going to build a
Oh
house
no
on a piece
no.
of land in Texas, then yes, then I would go into
Well,
Texas any day.
what triggered that for me is because like you have like now these like kind of like not necessarily like full resorts or just like for all the kids. It's just like specifically for younger kids, like maybe preteens. So you have like the universals popping up there. But like one of the things you did say in the target demographic, it isn't like in Frisco, like Collin County, kind of like the higher end, like uh property tax value being pretty high. But then you still have stuff being built out towards like Fort Worth because the PGA just like announced that they moved their headquarters to North Texas. So now you have like said like well everything with Texas is like everything in Lake in Texas is man made first and foremost. But then like the ones that you have in North Texas that like are even valued like close to being good is like you have like Louisville and then you also have not Lake Ranger. Um Starts with a G, but just right outside like the DFW area. But I was just curious. That's all because
Well,
that's
again,
not
I'm
that.
not, I'm not, I'm not certain that the areas you're talking about are not good. All I know is that if it doesn't meet my criteria for me, we don't go in there. So, for
Yeah,
example, let's just talk about one thing and one thing only. If the lots are not around 10 grand, then the
yeah.
answer is no. So, if you said, Michael, I have some good lots in Texas, but they're 25,000 each from a builder or from the neighborhood, no way, no. I would build on a lot for 25,000. I would build a house on it, but I'm not going to hold a lot for 10 or 20 or 30 years that I bought at 30,000. We don't buy lots above 20 grand. We don't buy lots with high taxes. We don't buy lots that don't have a subdivision that's about 10% built out or less. If the subdivision is 50% built out, it's too late. If the subdivision is 80% built out, it's way too late. If the subdivision is too soon and only has one house or none, or only has dirt roads so far, it's too soon. So our formula is so narrow of over 30 years of making mistakes. For example, you might say, Michael, why don't you buy a lot on the lake for 100 grand instead of a lot off the lake for 10 grand? Well, I've tried that. I would buy a lot on the lake for 100 grand. When I went to go sell it at a double, I had to get 200 grand. Who has got 200 grand to buy my lots on a lake? Only luxury buyers. So I don't screw around with luxury buyers because they're few and far between. I would rather buy a lot at 10 and sell it at 20, double my money. And there's millions of people that can afford 20 grand. Make sense? Everyone get that?
Uh,
So the criteria, Manny, is so narrow that
yeah.
unless it meets all the criteria with lakes, golf courses, and I don't mean a little man-made lake like, where you can paddle a boat. I'm talking about a lake where you can get out and sail, speedboat, houseboat, you name it, diving. So
Yeah,
it's got to
yeah.
be a tourist destination location where people come there anyway, even if they don't own a piece of land or a house there. So destination locations are where we go. And we did do Texas years ago. It was in Austin, right next to Lake Travis. And that subdivision did so well, we bought hundreds of lots in there at 9 grand and 10 grand and 11 grand. Those lots doubled in 5 years to 20 grand. And I sold them all at 20 grand at 10% interest for another 7 years more and
Like
made
on the upper
it
side of Lake Austin, like by like Oasis where they built the Oasis out.
right by Lake Travis. It's called Lago Vista. Lago
Oh
Vista was
yeah,
a subdivision that I made millions of dollars in 20 some
yeah.
years ago. So now those same lots are $65,000. So
I'm gonna
Richard,
look for you
Richard,
from there.
when Richard's talking about how do I get money out now, I've heard this a million times, and with all due respect, I don't judge you for that, Richard. It's okay. You want to live your life now. Is that why you're asking me? Unless you want to do things with the money now, not when you're dead, right? Or is that kind of the idea, Richard?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm fixing to retire here in about 5 years from the military. I'll get a pension. I'll get the VA disability, and the wife and I are just gonna hit the road, in an RV,
Yeah,
and we're gonna live our
yeah,
best life. So,
great.
150K is like the more than enough for us to be happy. So, but if I got 59, I got a 401k for my retirement. I don't know. I'm purchasing tax liens. It sounds very similar to like a tax lien. Like I get a high percent back, get my money back in a way. I guess question I have is how do you even find these places? It's not like you can go on Zillow. I mean, maybe you could go on Zillow and look for empty lots or something. I'm not sure.
So we only go in one subdivision at a time, and it takes almost $10,000 of research to find the exact subdivisions that meet all 12 of my criteria. So again,
Yeah.
below 20 grand, must be buildable lots, must be unpaved roads, must have utilities, and on and on and on and on. They all have to stack up. So once we actually find a subdivision that qualifies, then we have to do all the other due diligence as to find out, are there permits getting pulled to build houses? How much are the taxes per year? How much are the monthly carrying costs? So there's so much to go into. We don't just go off of Zillow and say, hey, there's a lot. There's a lot. No, it's done very scientific from doing it wrong for so many years. So we are very laser focused. So when we do buy vacant lots, you say that it's long term, but they may go up short term. What if in 5 years when you're ready to retire, they've doubled? That's 100% return. That's 20% a year. No matter what you're doing, if you have a 401k plan, you're in the wrong spot. You're making 8 or 10% in your 401k plan if you're lucky, and it could drop in half at any day from any bad news. So your 401k plan is the most dangerous and worst investment because of what it's in, stocks, mutual funds, etc. And you can't do real estate with a 401k plan. But did you know, Richard, that you can pull out up to 50 grand and borrow from there? Did you know that already from your 401k plan?
Yeah, you can, but I'm not going to do that because then it takes away from the compounding. So I'm just going to
It
leave
does
that in there.
not. That's incorrect. No, it does not. First of all, if you borrow 50,000 from your current 401k plan, that's making you 8% with 50% downside risk, and put it into lending at 12% or 13%, where you're not too high of a loan to value, you would be in a safe position and probably not have any risk of losing it, but probably make a better return, about 50% more than you're making now. And that does compound also. So whatever you invest with instead of the 401k plan, it's compounding in something different. So keeping it in a 401k plan is the death of us, because keeping it in a 401k plan means we're only locked into what they offer, which is your typical stocks, mutual funds, and gold and silver, maybe if you're lucky. So to get to the bigger numbers, the 401k plan is not the way to get there. It's really in real estate. Not only that, Richard, you can take 50 grand and buy $100,000 house. That's controlling 100 grand with 50. You can't do that in the 401k plan. The house at 100 grand could rent out for $600 a month, which you have now interest deduction off your annual taxes from the bank loan of the other 50. And you've got a renter paying you monthly income, depreciation write-off, interest income write-off. So 50 grand into a $100,000 house or 50 grand into a $200,000 house is a gold mine compared to where it's at now. So you can control a $200,000 rental property with 50 grand down and be able to get way better results. Even if the return on your money was only 6% from rental income or 8%, even if that was the case, you have appreciation of the asset, interest deduction from your taxes, and depreciation on your taxes. It's an absolute gold mine. To control 200 with 50 is smarter than keeping 50 dollar for dollar in the same crap that has downside risk. So you got to try to get it out of there and use it for something else.
I agree. So the military pension specifically requires you to, or excuse me, not the pension, the 401k requires you to pay it back while you're active duty.
Understand.
So if you get out of active duty, then you're required to pay the whole sum back. So I did the math, and I wasn't comfortable with I think it was like $500 deducted from my paycheck to pay back. Now, a good thing though, the interest, it goes back into my account. Like they don't get the interest from the loan.
You're
So
paying
that's
yourself.
kind of
I don't
cool.
care if it's 50, I don't care if it's 50% interest. It's your money. Doesn't matter.
Right. Yeah. So I don't know. It is something that I've thought about for the TSP, but right now I'm treating it more of like a backup plan if things go south, because right now, like, I got a duplex and then I got like people, I got squatters in there, so I'm
Yeah.
dealing with that right now, and I
Yeah.
don't even know what the inside looks like right now, so I got to
Yeah.
be prepared. So yes, I may potentially pull out that loan because I'm now in a little bit of a hole.
Yeah. I
So
understand.
but in a perfect world, yeah, sure. But there's strategies with the TSP too. It's not all doom and gloom. You
Yeah.
can capitalize on investing. You can like there's a million ways to skin a cat. Like it's just
Yeah.
it is what it is. So I see what you're saying though, sir. I appreciate it.
I'm just suggesting use leverage because leverage allows you to control a $200,000 asset with $50,000. And
Yes,
so
sir.
the payments that you make to yourself hopefully will be covered by the renters. You know what I mean? So the renters
Yeah,
pay the rental income and you're in a bad situation because of the property you have now, but not all are like that. There's a lot of people that have rental properties that don't have that problem, or maybe they solved it and it came out okay. You're going to be fine. You will do
yeah.
very well with that property once you get through this downturn or the tough time, but it's temporary.
Yeah.
Great. All right. Anybody have any last minute questions? Otherwise, you have my number in the chat. It's 954-258-6954. Just text me your full name and put vacant lots, and then we'll do a one-on-one consultation call, and you can ask me anything. We'll figure it out what you need help with. And if I can help you, great. If not, it's okay.
Sweet. Hey, Mike, I want to ask one more question. I'm sorry,
Sure.
before we close out. So how do you handle when someone comes to you with this question, how do you handle the lack of cash flow? Because like to echo Richard's points, like, hey, you do need a certain amount of cash flow coming in to sustain your life and everything. And let's say that person's 30, they don't want to wait until they're 60. So how do you balance that lack of cash flow while you're waiting for, that 5-10 years to sell on terms and start to collect things? So how do you array your
Question, because you and I talked about this before, actually. You and I even talked about this because you had the same question before, and I get it. So let me see if I can address that, guys. So look, all of us want cash flow now, right, Eric?
Mhm.
Right? Okay. But you can't do that if you're taking from your real estate portfolio passive income from your real. So if you have a rental property and it's bringing in 1,000 a month or 2,000 a month, and you're taking it, using it for travel and business and fun, or travel and cars and whatever, shame on you. Every penny of your retirement money belongs staying in the retirement account until it builds up to whatever, 4 million, 5 million, or 6 million. Every time you take money out of your passive income now, or passive income from anything now, you're ruining your chances of getting to the finish line faster. So how do you make enough passive income? You buy another business, buy 3 or 4 laundry mats, buy 3 or 4 nail salons, buy whatever. And there's buy income producing businesses that have cash flow every single month. You can't live off of rental properties at the age of 40. You can't. It's too soon. You can't live off of rental properties at the age of 50 unless you have 30 doors, all bringing in 1,000 a month, and they're almost paid for. That's a different story. But I'm talking about in general, if you're not at the point where you can live off of the income from your rental properties or your notes, your lending, then don't do it now. So you cannot pull from any real estate investments now to live off of. No vacations, no cars for the wife, no gifts to the kids, no nothing out of your retirement account until you've got it big enough, or it won't get big enough. So you have to figure out how to make income from businesses. And that could be just as simple as starting a business where someone else does all the work. If I had no money right now, I could start a house cleaning business, and I can't clean a house. I don't even clean my own shit, let alone anybody else's. But I could start a cleaning business and charge $25 an hour and pay my cleaning lady $15 an hour and do that times 10 houses a day. I mean, anybody can do what I'm talking about. All of you can start a business and make cash flow so you don't have to dip into your retirement money. It's too soon. If you take it out now, it'll cripple you for so many years, especially in a self-directed Roth IRA. That's the real bad part if you take it out of there too soon.
Sweet. Hey, I appreciate you. Thank you so much for your time. I don't want to bust time and go too much over. But Mike, thank you so much. You
Yep.
dropped some absolute gold on us. I know you don't have to be here. You're here because you want to be here and help people. So thank you so much for what you've done for me personally and for the group as well too. I'll make sure to push out all your information. All the guys in the chat, thank you so much for coming. It means a lot that you're here right now. I'll make sure to post this on the podcast and everything. But Mike and Eric too, thank you so much for being here. And yeah, thanks guys.